Elsbeth Season 3 Episode 4, titled Poetic Justice, dives deep into the world of art, politics, and manipulation. And this time, it's not just about solving a murder, but also about questioning what it really means to be genuine in a city built on appearances. This episode cleverly explores how people use charm, ambition, and lies to get ahead, while Elsbeth tries to find her footing between truth and deception. The story opens at a glamorous benefit event where Elsbeth meets Alec Bloom, a charismatic and ambitious man running for mayor of New York City. Alec's charm is almost too perfect. He knows exactly what to say, how to smile, and when to shake hands. He's got an inspiring story. Once homeless, later a fire marshal, and now a man trying to fix New York's affordability crisis. He's the kind of person who makes everyone believe in second chances. But Elsbeth, being who she is, can't help but wonder, is Alec genuinely kind, or just another politician using empathy as a strategy? Their connection grows quickly. They both adore the city in all its messy beauty. The music, the culture, even the cheesy tourist spots. One adorable scene has them singing Manhattan together, and for a moment it feels like two dreamers bonding over their shared love for New York. But Elsbeth's sharp intuition kicks in, and she bluntly asks, "How do I know you're not being Clintonian?" It's her way of saying, how do I know this isn't just a performance? And that question becomes the episode's theme. Can sincerity and manipulation ever coexist? A familiar face soon reappears, deceased Marissa Gold, now Alec's campaign manager. Fans will remember her from The Good Wife and The Good Fight. And now she's in New York, helping Alec chase the mayor's office. Elsbeth is delighted to reunite with her old friend, and happy to see that Marissa wants to build an ethical political career, different from her famously scheming father, Eli Gold. But as the episode unfolds, it becomes clear that Marissa might not be as different as she hopes. Her actions show that ambition can easily blur the line between integrity and opportunism. By the end, when Elsbeth discovers Marissa leaked photos that led tabloids to call Elsbeth Alec's mystery redhead, it feels like a personal betrayal. Still, it's obvious Marissa isn't gone from the story. After all, the episode ends with the line, "The future of New York City is in Elsbeth's hands." While Elsbeth's personal life gets tangled in politics, her professional side gets pulled into another mystery, the death of a poet named Dolores Feinn. Dolores, a beloved literary donor, recently died in an apartment fire that started when her cigarette ignited oxygen from her tank. Her old friend, Dr. Yablonsky, feels guilty because he always suspected her oxygen tank was a fake prop she used to get better tables at restaurants. But Elsbeth, ever the observer, finds something off about the story. And as it turns out, her instincts are dead right. The real culprit is Gary Pigeon, director of a struggling arts nonprofit called Pigeon Print. Played brilliantly by William Jackson Harper, Gary is the perfect example of someone trapped between passion and desperation. On the surface, he's a grieving friend mourning Dolores. But deep down, he's the one who loosened the oxygen valve, killing her, all so she couldn't change her will and take away his much-needed donation. Gary's charm, his tears, his sorrow, all fake. Yet the writing is smart enough to show that even fake emotions can hold a bit of truth. Gary is sad, but he's also thrilled he got away with murder. Elsbeth senses his lies immediately. She gets Captain Wagner's approval to reopen the case and reluctantly partners again with Detective Rivers. Their dynamic is awkward at first, but this time Rivers actually listens to her. He's on his best behavior, partly because he's dating Julia and doesn't want any HR drama, and partly because he knows Elsbeth can make or break him in front of the captain. Their teamwork turns surprisingly smooth as they dig deeper into Gary's world, one filled with poets, failed grants, and unpaid bills. Elsbeth's way of investigating is as quirky and brilliant as ever. She uses her signature mix of innocent questions, cheerful chatter, and quiet manipulation to get Gary talking. Her trap involves a perfectly executed fake-out at Gary's dry cleaner with help from Alec, a friendly doorman named Steve, and May, the dry cleaner. They create an elaborate setup to make Gary believe they've discovered new forensic evidence, something about the bleaching powers of oxygen concentration. It's pure nonsense, but it sounds scientific enough to rattle him. In a moment of panic, Gary confesses everything, unable to hold up his faff aid any longer. No. The episode's real emotional punch comes from Harper's performance. He captures Gary's unraveling perfectly. The slow realization that all his cleverness is backfiring, that every move he makes only traps him further. He's a man who's losing control of his story, surrounded by people who see through his lies. The mix of humor and tension feels almost like Faulty Towers, and you can't help but feel a little sorry for him. Just a little. Gary's motive also sheds light on a harsh truth: the arts are dying. He's constantly rejected by potential donors. Rival magazines like Tumbleweed are struggling, and no one wants to fund literature anymore. Even his assistant, Hannah, refuses to ask her wealthy parents for help. Gary's frustration builds until he convinces himself murder is the only solution. But in true Elsbeth style, the universe has the last laugh. Dolores's will ends up leaving him only 413 and her unpublished poems, which are terrible. The supposed millionaire turns out to have been living in a rent-controlled apartment, using fake illness as a long-running scam to get free meals and attention from arts organizations. Dolores, the old poet, turns out to be the real con artist, and kind of a legend for it. By the end, Elsbeth not only solves the murder, but also untangles the moral web that connects all these characters. Everyone's pretending in some way. Alec with his campaign charm, Marissa with her moral high ground, Gary with his grief, and even Rivers with his forced politeness. The line between authenticity and manipulation becomes blurry, and Elsbeth, ever self-aware, seems to understand that maybe sincerity isn't as important as results. What matters is using the tools you have, charm, intuition, or even deception, to make things right. However, the episode closes on a more mysterious note when Marissa shows up at the precinct to talk to Elsbeth. She confesses that she leaked the story to the press, but also asks Elsbeth not to make any moves or tell anyone about it, unless she says so. That line feels ominous, suggesting something much bigger is brewing. What exactly is Marissa planning? Is Alec involved in something shady? And how will this affect Elsbeth, who now finds herself tangled in New York's political games? Of Poetic Justice perfectly captures what makes Elsbeth such a unique show. It's not just about solving crimes, but about examining human contradictions. It asks whether being good at what you do means you have to be a little bit fake, and whether people's best intentions can still lead to terrible choices. The writing balances humor and tragedy with ease, and Carrie Preston's performance as Elsbeth remains endlessly delightful, curious, kind, and clever, with just enough chaos to keep things unpredictable. This episode also plays with cultural references in a fun way. It's filled with nods to poets like Sylvia Plath, Elizabeth Bishop, and John Keats, as well as musical moments that celebrate New York's artistic soul. Even the wardrobe choices feel symbolic. Elsbeth's colorful clothes contrast Gary's overly formal, clashing suits, highlighting their very different ways of handling life and truth. By the end, one thing is clear: Elsbeth's future in New York is only getting more complicated. Between Alec's political rise, Marissa's hidden agenda, and the city's chaotic mix of power and performance, Elsbeth may soon have to decide whether to play the game or break it. Poetic Justice is not just a clever mystery, it's a love letter to the messy, ambitious, and deceitful heart of New York. And in true Elsbeth style, it proves that even in a city full of pretenders, authenticity can still shine through, just not in the way you expect.